starting with a pretty bold claim today. Some might even say provocative.
Okay.
The idea is that the average poor person today, they actually live a better life than the wealthiest kings of, say, the 19th century.
And right away, that forces you to ask a really fundamental question, doesn't it? What do we even mean by better?
Right.
Are we talking about absolute objective things like, your health, your lifespan? Or is it all relative? About status and power?
And that's exactly what we're going to try and figure out in this deep dive. We want to assess that claim. We're going to try to separate what modern life gives everyone, universally.
The absolute gains.
Exactly. Versus what that top-tier social status gave you back in history.
To do that, we've pulled in a whole range of sources. There are philosophical arguments, hard economic data on inequality, and some really fascinating snapshots of life from the Stone Age all the way to the Renaissance.
So this is about more than just money.
Oh, much more. It's about the quality of the human experience itself.
Okay, so let's start with the strongest case for the modern person. The most objective, kind of undeniable evidence. Survival.
Right.
If you're a lower income person today, what is your single biggest advantage over, King Louis XIV?
It's one thing. The sources are really clear on this. Modern medicine. That is the great equalizer.
A decisive fact.
It's the one huge advantage the poor have today. I mean, think about it. 200 years ago, nobody, and I mean nobody, king or peasant, had access to anesthesia or antibiotics.
And those are life or death stakes. We have this image of emperors being completely safe in their palaces, but they died from common things.
Totally treatable things. Syphilis, tuberculosis, a simple infection from a shaving cut could kill the most powerful person on earth. You just wouldn't want to be them facing a modern bacterial infection.
So no amount of wealth could buy what science now provides for, almost everyone.
Exactly. They had guards, but they were biologically helpless.
And that extends to just daily life, right?
Yeah.
Sanitation.
Oh, absolutely. Even the poorest people in developed countries today have access to soap, to clean running water.
Compare that to a medieval town where, as the sources note, human waste was just everywhere.
The smell alone.
I can't even imagine. A flushing toilet and a bottle of ibuprofen. That's a level of comfort an ancient king couldn't even dream of. Their servants fanning them for AC is not the same thing.
And then there's the knowledge advantage. A person today with a smartphone has access to, effectively, the entire sum of human knowledge. Wikipedia alone is.
It's a revolutionary improvement.
It really is. The smartest person in the 17th century knew a tiny fraction of what an average high schooler is expected to know today.
And we enforce that. 13 years of free education are required by law. Now, some of our sources do ask if this just creates, a wage slave for the economy.
Which is a fair question.
It is, but the baseline literacy, the basic awareness of the world is just on a completely different level.
And for, the ultimate contrast, if we jump way back to prehistory, it really puts things in perspective.
What do you mean?
Early humans were incredibly sophisticated. They weren't just grunting in caves. We have evidence they were renovating homes. They were problem solvers.
And physically, they were pretty impressive.
Incredible. One source pointed out that women from 7,000 years ago had upper body strength comparable to modern semi-elite rowers.
Wow.
But even with all that ingenuity, and they had some, there's evidence of a successful amputation 31,000 years ago in Borneo, which requires immense communal care to survive. The risks were just terrifyingly high.
This is the key point.
It is. Historically, about 1/3 of all children die before they turn 5.
1 in 3.
Today, in a developed nation, it's closer to 1 in 300. That single statistic for me almost settles the absolute argument. If you value your life, you choose modernity. Every time.
Okay, so medically, technologically, modernity wins, hands down.
No question.
But that's the absolute side of it. To really understand the claim, we have to look at the relative side. And that means we have to stop romanticizing what it was like to be a king.
Right. What did that power actually cost them?
The sources suggest it cost them their personal security. The danger was part of the job.
Take someone like Caligula. We think of his immense power, but people were actively trying to kill him. Every single day.
He had to have a food taster for every meal.
Every single meal. His security wasn't like a modern legal system. It was just constant paranoid vigilance, living in a world with zero trust.
That's a kind of stress that's hard for us to grasp. A CEO might worry about a hostile takeover, not poison in their lunch.
And then there's just the sheer discomfort of it all.
Right. Luxury didn't mean comfort back then.
Not at all. Roman delicacies, for example. one of the most prized was something called garum,
The fish sauce.
made from rotting fermented fish guts.
It sounds truly disgusting.
It gives you a sense of the baseline. Or think about trying to heat a massive stone castle in a northern European winter. You could have a huge fire, but the rest of the room would be freezing and drafty.
And what about the lives of ordinary people? The feudal peasant, it seems so monotonous.
It was. But it's interesting, you see some sources mention they had a lot of time off, maybe 2 to 6 months in the winter when nothing would grow.
Which sounds amazing compared to a 9-to-5 job today.
It does, but that wasn't vacation, that was survival time. You were huddling inside, rationing your food, and praying you didn't starve before spring. Making it to 60 was a huge achievement.
So free time was just time spent not actively dying.
Pretty much. And that's why luxury back then was defined purely by comparison. In the Renaissance, being rich just meant you gotta eat meat and fish regularly.
While the poor were living on bread and bean stew.
Exactly. The king's advantage wasn't that his food was gourmet by our standards, it was just that he had variety.
Even their greatest luxury, travel, shows the difference. A king could take as long as he wanted to go anywhere,
His luxury was unlimited time.
but our technology gives almost anyone unlimited speed. Their months-long journey is our 7-hour flight.
Okay, so we've pretty much established that modern objective conditions are better.
Yeah, I think that's clear.
But now we have to shift to satisfaction, to happiness. And this is where the whole claim that we live better gets really, really tricky.
Because our brains are wired for relativity.
Completely. We don't judge our happiness against King Caligula. We judge it against the person living next door.
Or the person we see on Instagram. And in a world with such huge inequality, that comparison can be, well, a form of torture.
And the research backs this up completely. Money does make you happier, but only to a point.
Our sources put that number around $100,000 a year in salary.
Right, around there. After that, the happiness curve just flattens out. But what's really fascinating and kind of damning is that your happiness actually decreases if you're making that 100,000 because you're surrounded by people making way more.
It's all about the social model.
All about it. And we are living in a time with a historically wide, very, very visible income gap. The share of income for the top 1% in 2005 was as big as it was back in 1928.
The roaring 20s.
We're right back there. And that gap creates something called the Great Gatsby Curve.
Which means it's harder to climb the ladder.
Much harder. When the rungs on the ladder are farther apart, social mobility goes down. It creates a sort of modern dynasticism. The kids of affluent parents get the best schools, the best training, even if they have mediocre talent.
And what makes this all feel so bad, even when we're objectively safe and healthy, is that our own psychological biases get triggered by this inequality constantly.
Yes, let's dig into those. The first big one is incentive cost bias.
Okay, what's that?
It's the simple idea that you should be very wary of advice that is especially good for the person giving it.
Like when a management consultant tells you the solution to all your problems is more management consulting.
Exactly. It's perfectly rational for them. And the historical antidote for that was always sound accounting. The invention of the cash register was revolutionary because it was an impartial judge. It just counted the money.
Okay, what's the next bias?
It's a powerful one. Deprival superreaction tendency. Or, loss aversion.
The idea that losing hurts more than winning feels good.
Way more. Watching your portfolio drop 10% feels 10 times worse than the joy you got when it went up by the same amount. It makes people do irrational things like overbidding at an auction just to avoid the feeling of losing the item.
So what's the antidote for that?
The Buffett practice, as one source calls it, just don't go to the auction in the first place. Remove the trigger.
I like that. Okay, what's the last one?
The contrast misreaction tendency. Salespeople use this all the time.
Show you the 3 really awful houses first.
Precisely. And then the fourth one, which is just bad, suddenly seems like a great deal. The danger here is that it works for slow changes, too. The boiling frog analogy. Small, incremental steps toward disaster that our brains just don't register because the day-to-day contrast is so small.
Right.
But we have to be careful here. This whole conversation about relativity, about the $100,000 plateau and cognitive bias, this is mostly a first world problem.
It's a conversation about relative poverty, not absolute poverty.
Exactly. And we have to ground ourselves and remember that the kind of poverty that kills you quickly still exists for millions of people.
That's a critical distinction. So what is the key deprivation in those communities? It's not always just a lack of food or money, is it?
It's often a lack of law. The sources describe it as a chronic vulnerability to violence.
So things like sexual assault, forced labor, police abuse.
All of it. They live far from the law's protection. A king might fear a planned coup. These people fear random violence from local thugs.
And even when services like healthcare and education are available, they're often not effective.
Right. In healthcare, doctors might underdiagnose and then overprescribe things like antibiotics, which contributes to global antibiotic resistance. It's a tragic cycle.
And with schools,
Enrollment is way up, which looks great on paper, but quality is often terrible. In some places, teachers miss, on average, 1 day of work every week. So you have older kids who still can't read a simple sentence.
so this all points to needing solutions that are really local and understand the specific context.
It's the only way. You can't just throw money at the problem. Look at the example with African farmers and fertilizer. They all knew fertilizer worked, but they couldn't save up the money to buy it when they needed it.
So the solution wasn't just giving them funds.
No, it was behavioral. It was logistics. An initiative gave them vouchers to buy fertilizer right after the harvest, which is the one time of year they actually have cash.
And it worked.
Net incomes went up by over 50%. It just made the smart choice the easy choice.
There was another great example with bed nets for malaria.
Right, the old assumption was that if you give people something for free, they won't value it.
So they won't use it.
But the studies showed that's just not true. People were just as likely to use a free bed net as one they paid a subsidized price for. It completely changed how these aid programs are designed. You have to test your assumptions on the ground. So to bring this all together, we found this real duality, haven't we?
We have.
On the one hand, yes, modern technology gives even low-income people today these incredible absolute advantages over historical kings in terms of health, lifespan, comfort.
Yeah.
No king ever had it this safe.
But on the other hand,
Modern inequality creates this intense feeling of relative deprivation, this psychological stress that gets channeled right through all those cognitive biases we just talked about.
so back to the original claim. Do the poor today live better than 19th century kings?
In terms of surviving, yes, absolutely. But in terms of contentment, of happiness, the answer is probably no.
Because our perception, our satisfaction is all driven by comparison, not by our objective progress.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to take away. We talked about the smartphone, how it gives you access to the entire sum of human knowledge. That is an absolute objective advancement.
A huge one.
But how does that piece of technology interact with the contrast misreaction tendency we discussed? If you're constantly seeing the lives of the super rich on social media, you are always, as you said, around others who have more money. So here's the question. Is the smartphone, this great equalizer of knowledge, also the most powerful engine for creating relative psychological distress?